Hello, welcome back. I did not record one of these little after action reports after my writing session yesterday, so I'm recording one today to attach to that footage to talk about that little writing session individually. I'm doing this before I do any actual writing for today, so if in a later video you see me wearing this shirt and the weather looks like this and I'm getting writing done at maybe the same day that I recorded this, but this is reflecting on day 29 of the project, which was yesterday. It went decently well. It went as planned. I created a new list of scenes and selected one and just wrote that scene to completion, document in focus mode, not thinking about word count, not worrying about how much time was passing. Knocked out that scene. It was a really fun one, different than any of the others that I've written thus far. And yeah, it was a good time. For those of you joining us for the first time, my name is Swanson. I'm a writer. I'm an aspiring screenwriter and an aspiring author. I just want to write all the things for all the mediums. This summer, I'm attempting to write the first 50,000 words of the first draft of my first novel. It's an epic fantasy novel, so that 50,000 words might well only end up covering Act 1, but it's been excellent practice, and I learned a tremendous amount in the 1 month that we've spent doing this so far. And there's still essentially 3.5 weeks left of this project until I hit my September 5th deadline that I've given myself to get those 50,000 words done. After that point, I'll be starting a new term in grad school. I'm in a graduate writing program, and so I'll be working on a lot of other projects, at least 2 long-form major projects, and then a host of other small stories that I'll have to write every week. Our novel will have to go on hiatus in just 3.5 short weeks. I only have a little bit of time left to get a lot of juice wrung out of this. And I found myself not looking forward to the end. 2 weeks in, I would have told you, this was crazy. I shouldn't have done this. This is so overwhelming. But now that I'm really in the groove of things, I almost wish I wasn't going to have to put this project down. But I'll return to it, and it'll be good for my brain anyway. I was complaining about this to a few members of my family over the last week or so. And both of them independently gave me excellent advice, which is like, you're going to go away from the project for a while and you're going to marinate on it in the back of your head. And you're going to think about so many new things that will work with it. And it'll be a good break from the project. And that is really excellent advice. It's like anything else where if you sleep on it, good ideas come. My microphone just died, so my audio quality is about to take a nosedive. It's the only microphone I got. I have nothing else I can do for you. For specific lessons that I learned during this most recent writing session, stick around until after the time lapse. So this was a good session, and I'm still finding it very fruitful to sit down and write a scene at a time and just try to get to the end of the scene. I tend to write scenes that they're not short, but they do end up happily being around 1,200 to 1,600 words. Ends up being kind of perfect for hitting around where I need to be with my word count every day, and for not having to stress about the word count while I'm actually writing. Like I mentioned, I created a new list of different scenes that I needed to get done this week, or that I could select from this week rather. And yesterday I like already knew which one I was going to write when I sat down. I chose one that is a really tertiary, like far to the edges of the story, literally at the edge geographically of the story. It's a character that we haven't met yet. It's a character that we won't meet very many times throughout the story, because her chapters will be sort of just interstitial little slices of story in between big chunks of the main A story in the novel. So if you read a lot of fantasy, this is a really common thing. There's probably a word for these type of chapters, and Brandon Sanderson has probably given a lecture on how to write them. But I don't have a catch-all word for what they are. But essentially, in lots of fantasy that covers like wide geographical areas with different kingdoms and factions and families, and there's usually a sort of tight A story where this is the main plot of the novel, and as you reach some major twist or cliffhanger or revelation, or you've gotten a significant chunk of story done with them and you're about to move on to what is essentially a new part, sometimes there will be a chapter slotted in to give you a break from that A story, to introduce you to some other part of the world, and sometimes to advance like a larger meta plot that the sort of entire fantasy series, or if it's a huge novel, like the entire arc of the novel, you get some greater insight into what is happening there. So I wrote one of these chapters yesterday where we went to a really important key area of the world that we haven't seen yet, and we meet a character who is part of an organization we haven't seen yet. And I've tried to make this, I mean, the sweet spot when you're trying to get a lot of world building done and make it not feel like a bunch of dry exposition, you got to do it all through character, right? And so I've tried to make this character one who really is not the character you would pick if you were going to have somebody just tell you about the world. So that as I'm writing her, I've actively built in safeguards where she isn't going to just start expositing information about the world. Because if you write one of those sentences coming out of her mouth, it's like, then make this character flat does not care, and also doesn't know. She's just a corporal in a sort of paramilitary at the edge of the world, and she is just worried about like her next drink, her next meal. She has no time or patience for like the kinds of characters in the story who also want like exposition and lore and information about their surroundings. She doesn't care about any of that. So the trick is that like when we're in her point of view, I can have her be resistant to characters who are asking questions and who are trying to like asking questions that I want the reader to be thinking about in the back of their mind. And because she's resistant, there's some friction and tension, and it feels like conflict, and it doesn't feel like exposition, or at least that's how I want it to feel. I've also given her some really simple, I think funny, like just base goals as she enters the scene, like sentence 1, paragraph 1. We know exactly what she wants during the scene, and it has nothing to do with like anything heady or anything world building. It is a very relatable, just like base human desire that she like shows up in the chapter, and she's like, I want X, Y, and Z, and you like know from paragraph 1 how she's going to try to get it, and it makes some promises that this chapter is going to be humorous, but then the chapter is also like loaded with all these other characters that are attempting to learn something about the world, and so you get to as the reader, you're absorbing a lot of information while also having a character like actively resist other characters wanting to just tell you info. I don't know. Maybe it didn't work at all, and maybe it's a terrible chapter, but I think it's working okay. We will worry about whether or not it's good later. For now, all that matters is it is another 1,133 words on the block, and that brings our total to 27,626 words toward our 50,000.
really creeping up there now. We're approaching the 30K mark, and that will really feel like, okay, we're steamrolling ahead and we're almost done. But we got a few weeks left, and I'm looking forward to them. This has been really good. And it's also been much more than I expected in terms of just the amount of like raw pages I have. We probably hit 100 pages at some point, either yesterday or the writing session before. And that hasn't sunk in. I went from I've wanted to write a novel since I was 3, but haven't done it. And I've cobbled together a bunch of like half-baked short stories over the years, but I've never written anything in prose fiction that's like long form. And now I've got 100 pages of the first draft, which is kind of unreal. Like that definitely hasn't sunk in yet. At the end of the project, I'm going to print them all out and like hold it in my hands. That's always like the best feeling when you do it with a screenplay. You like write the whole movie and then you print it out and like hold it old school, and it's just, you've done something tangible, you know? All right, that's enough of me babbling. We are done with yesterday's writing session. I'll write again today and tomorrow, and we will continue chipping away at the summer novel project. Thank you for checking in. Hope this was helpful or entertaining or both, and I hope that you have a terrific rest of your day. Thanks again for checking in.